All right, everybody. Hello. Let's do this once again.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Those that are checking us out, tuning in, joining us tonight, welcome. Glad to have you once again. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. So many shows
You're doing
going
so
on.
much.
Conversations.
That's
Road
where
to
we
Destiny.
are.
I don't know which one
We
that
are
is.
on Conversations on
Conversations
Saturday
tonight.
night, 8
Thank you.
o'clock.
It's Saturday night? Oh, wow. Saturday night? Oh, I wouldn't even.
Don't make me second guess myself. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Life is a little busy sometimes. Good evening, everybody. Glad to be here. It is Saturday night once again, and Pam and David are here for Conversations. I even got our names right. Look at that. I don't trust anything right about now. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you with us. Were you checking to make sure it's Saturday?
Well,
I'm pretty sure it's Saturday.
I'm sure it is.
Which means we got church tomorrow.
Yes.
Fancy that. All right, we'll be
Yes.
ready. We'll be ready for that.
Busy people we are.
We have our times, we have our days, yeah. Lots going on today. From sunrise, actually before sunrise, until now. Lots happening today. And some things we've been hearing as well, church related, that we're praying about and reaching out to some folks about as well. We've got a couple situations that are going on. And so praying for all those that are impacted in different ways and those families and all the different circumstances that are happening. But we do want to say good evening to all those that are starting to tune in. Welcome to those that are coming in and checking us out. Join us for the conversation tonight.
Yes.
Happy to have you joining us once again. We come here every Saturday night around this time, around 8 o'clock, to talk about some of the key and interesting things that have been going on and are going on, both locally and beyond.
Yes.
And this week, couple interesting things happening.
Oh, yeah.
So we want to talk about that tonight. A couple major court cases.
Yes, major
that
court
are going on
cases.
right now. There's all kinds of other ones as well. But a couple ones in particular we wanted to have some discussion about, and you might want to chime in on. I want to remind you that you can call us at any time. The phone number is right there in front of you, 951-799-9032. You can feel free to call in and we can connect you in and you can talk to us, or you can always chat with us by sending us comments throughout on the page there.
Right.
So we're watching, looking, interacting, looking to talk to you. So see some more people coming in. Also want to mention it's a good time to share this. If you've ever done that or haven't done that, all you need to do is go down to the corner there where it says share.
Yes, that's what I just did.
And hit share.
Yes.
Maybe type a little something with it, but you can share it to your friends and let them know that we're going on what's going on as well.
Yes.
And they can join in the conversation as well. We appreciate that, and appreciate everybody that's connecting up with us and joining us and everything that's going on here. Brought to you by Destiny Preparation Church inherently, but brought to you also by the Stewart household right
Yes.
now. We're in the Stewart studio.
Our studio.
Stewart Studio 1.
Our
we call
office
it.
studio.
Studio 1, yeah.
Your man cave.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, you spend a lot in here.
Not always man
Yes.
cave stuff, but a lot of time in here. Yep.
A lot of time.
Anyway,
This is where the deal gets done.
this is where the stuff, this is where it happens.
This is where it happens.
It's happening right up in here. That's right. Lots of things going on. Let me just mention too, I see some more people still coming on our YouTube page. For those of you who are not connected up to it, we encourage you to go to our YouTube page, Conversations Pam and David. If you go to YouTube and then type in the little search bar that comes up, Conversations Pam and David, you will find our page and you will be able to connect up. And anytime we publish, you'll be able to get a notification that a new one is up every week and be a part of that. Keep connected up as well.
Yes.
All right, so let's get down to it. We got stuff to talk about tonight.
Yes, we do.
And so there's two, we mentioned a few minutes ago, two major court cases that started over the past week or so, which are bringing a lot of attention, reminds us of some of the court cases that we had going on last year that were getting a lot of attention. And these actually tie back to last year, two different incidents from 2020. One was Ahmaud Arbery. Good evening, Sister Libby.
Hello.
One was Ahmaud Arbery and the death of Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia
Yes.
by at the hands of two people who claim to have been trying to do a citizen's arrest. It's
Exactly.
interesting story
Yeah.
that's been going on, and now it's come to court, and the two of them, along with a third party who was the one that recorded the videotape of it, and is being alleged by the prosecutor to have, as a result of this, been part of it because
Yes.
he helped prevent Ahmaud from being able to escape in
With
one
his
form
vehicle.
or fashion.
Exactly.
Yes. And so, as a result of it, hey, Sister Betty Black Johnson is on. Hey,
Hello,
hey,
mommy.
we see you there. We see you. So saying hi to your mama, ain't that
Yes.
cute? They're where was I? Okay, so he's considered part of this as well, for not hindering his route to escape, and as a result of this, Ahmaud ends up dead. This was supposedly a situation where these two men, father and son, there had been some crimes that were happening in the neighborhood,
Yes.
in certain homes. This was some kind of thievery that was going on.
Yeah, and vandalizing cars.
Yeah, all
and
kind
what
of
have
things
you.
that were happening.
Yes.
And so they were watching in their neighborhood
Mm-hmm.
for potential people who might have been, the culprit or culprits.
Right.
And they happened to see this young man going through the neighborhood, and they say that they saw him inside of a house that was being built.
Yes.
Didn't have the walls on or anything yet, just the structure. And they saw him wandering around in there. And as a result of that, they decided that they wanted to detain him for the police because they
Right.
suspected he might have had something to do
Exactly.
with all this stuff that was going on. And then in the midst of that process of detaining him, it honestly started becoming like Wild Wild West. Right?
That's exactly
it
what
moved
happened.
into Wild West territory where they're chasing him, they're trying to corner him. The reality is they're trying to act like cops now.
Exactly.
Right? Because apparently at that time, and the law has been changed.
Yes, well, it was like you're saying, it was an antiquated law
Right.
that was still on the books in Georgia that allowed people to make a citizen's arrest.
Right? And
Yes.
those laws do exist in certain states still today. But they were based on that law. They wanted to take him and secure him and
Yes.
hold him for the police, take him to the police, whatever. And so they felt they had the right to do this, to make a citizen's arrest. But in doing that, it just became kind of a Wild West scene
Yes.
where they're chasing. They became bounty hunters.
Yes,
This kind of
exactly.
aggressive.
Yes.
This is an unarmed man young man that they
Yes.
saw in one of these houses. Whether he actually did anything or not, there was really no evidence that he had at that point in time.
Right.
But because they were suspicious of him,
Yes.
they decided we're going to get him and hold
Suspicious.
him. And so they went after him with cars and with guns, and they're chasing him down around the roads
Yes,
and all this stuff.
Exactly. Well, he was actually a jogger.
Yeah.
He jogged through the neighborhood
Right.
On a regular basis.
And this was his neighborhood.
it was his neighborhood, right?
So it wasn't like he was out of place
Out of
per
place.
se. This was
Yes.
an area that he jogged through routinely.
And he was known to jog there routinely.
Right.
Yes.
And maybe this group did or did not know him, whatever.
Well, even whether they knew him or not, they were looking for
Right, they were looking for a potential
suspect.
Right. And so they decided that.
And they had no basis.
Yeah, they didn't.
There were
was
no
nothing
basis to
other than that
implicate
they
him,
saw him
as
in
the
this
person.
house,
Exactly.
right? Bishop's on. Bishop, what's happening?
Hey, my brother. Oh wow,
Like
I've got
the
my mother
spirit of
and my
annihilation.
brother.
Yeah, so the family,
The
fam
family
is in the house.
the clocks.
So they went after him, and they're gonna corner him. They're gonna capture him, do whatever they can, tackle whatever. And they get in this, they're trying to hold him.
Yes.
And retain him. He's trying to get away. I don't know who
Well,
you guys are.
he's terrified. I
Right.
mean, you've got two strangers.
Yeah.
Well, actually three. You've got one bumping him with the car that's keeping him from getting away.
Yeah.
Then you've got these two other strangers, these two men, that are, harassing him.
Yep. And
He had no weapon.
to say the obvious, this is three white men coming after a young black man.
Yes.
In the middle of all this Black Lives Matter stuff and people getting
Right.
killed and shot, and they got guns.
They have guns.
So I'm thinking, and this is the South.
And it's
So, look,
Georgia.
You got to
Yes.
put all this together in the reality of what's happening in the minds of the people that's involved. And
Right.
so, this young man has got to be thinking, these guys are coming. I didn't
They're
do nothing, but
right.
these guys are coming for me, and they're coming with guns. I'm fighting for my life. They're not police officers even.
Right.
They're just people that are showing up
that
and
are
running after you,
that
you
are
know?
coming after me. Yes.
So I mean, you can imagine that he had to have been pretty freaked out by the whole thing,
Right.
And rightfully, apparently, fearful for his life.
life, yeah.
So then they come out and they come at him with guns, right?
Right.
And they come out and end up shooting him, not just once, but I
Oh
believe
my
twice,
goodness.
twice or three times, I know, at
Yes,
least
yes,
twice.
yes. They had the opening statements. The court case, the
Yesterday?
opening statements was yesterday, and the prosecutor, I think she did a very good job.
Laying out the
Yes,
story.
the story. Yes.
And so, he ends up shot. I think it was two times. I know it was more than once. I think it was two times, two or three times.
Yes.
And so there's this wrestling that's going on, to get the gun, to get away, et cetera, so forth. And in the course of this, now they're shooting at him.
Yes.
Right. They don't know that he's done anything wrong, but they're shooting to detain. Right. This is
Right.
about detaining him. And so they're shooting to detain, right? So there's an
wait a
issue
minute.
here.
Also, a person that did not have a weapon.
Right. They're
Right.
shooting at him. Somebody has no weapon to detain him because they think he might have been somehow
Possibly.
attached to some kind of crime.
Right, exactly.
They have no direct evidence of any of this. They just have suspicion. Right. And so this ultimately leads to his death, is bleeding out on the street, unfortunately. And
Of which he lay there for 3 or 4 minutes before anyone went to check his body.
yeah, now the cop that was there says that he saw him. He said, "Look, he's
can't
bleeding
do
out. There's
anything."
nothing I can do. So, hey, there's no CPR. Nothing's going to help this guy because he was obviously shot." So
Yes,
that-
laying there with
I think it was his
his guts
aorta that was actually
and everything.
separated, and
Yes.
so
everything, blood everywhere.
Yeah. So I
Yes.
mean, so it comes down to this scenario in this case where you have these men and their position of what they did and why they did it. This young man can't speak for himself, but it turns out to be videotaped.
Right.
And so the video becomes the evidence of the story from his perspective of what
Right.
happened as well. And you look at the story, and so now the court case is questioning. These guys are up for a variation of murder.
Yeah.
And they're obviously trying to defend themselves and say, "Hey, we were just doing what we had a right to do."
Yes, exactly, exactly.
So, you ask yourself, what's the case here? What is their defense? And I actually like GMA did, the chief legal analyst at GMA talked about it Friday morning. And he was kind of laying out the cases. And
Right.
so they were asking him, well, what's the defense going to have to say about this? And he summarized it, in his opinion, as two things. Number one, he was saying that they are going to argue that they had reasonable suspicion, right? So
Right.
that's the argument, is that because of everything that was going on, what they saw, that they had reasonable suspicion to be able to go after him, right? And to want to detain him. Why did my phone just change? I don't know what just happened. But anyway, that's going to be argument number one. Argument number two is that after he was after the tussle began,
Yes.
then they switch over and they say, well, it was self-defense.
Exactly.
Because now he's fighting with us. I'm fearful for my life, even though
Because
I've got the shotgun.
they have the gun.
But
right.
they're saying, and one of the big questions that was coming up yesterday was, was he reaching for the gun? Did he reach for the barrel? That's one of the big questions that they were already presenting. And it's been implied that the guy that did the shooting, even he said, I think I'd like to say he did. This is the words. I'd like to say he did, but honestly, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, watching the opening statements today or yesterday and listening to what the prosecutor said, she pretty much debunked the self-defense claim, allegation there.
What'd she say?
Well, of course, they have the tapes, the videos. The guy, Travis McMichael, the son, actually went for the gun. He went for his rifle. He went to get the rifle.
So the son went for his?
The son went for his own.
Get it in the car, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. He went to get the
So
rifle.
they were out and they were after him and trying to hold him.
Right.
And
He
then
went
he
back
goes
and got the
back to
rifle.
get the gun.
From the truck, which also had a Confederate flag. Okay? Had a Confederate flag, which implies quite a few different things. She says that it was pretty much like a vigilante. It was a vigilante effect. And the struggle didn't mean that he was going to hurt the guy. He was trying to protect himself.
Right.
Exactly. And it was also unlawful imprisonment.
Yeah, they also
It was
accused him of
unlawful
that
imprisonment.
because of the guy that pulled his car around.
Exactly.
So he was on the run, and they were like cornering him with their cars.
Exactly.
And so the one guy who was said, "I'm just taking pictures," actually drove his car to block his path.
Exactly.
Right.
So the car that blocked Ahmaud Arbery's
Path.
his path, the car had some evidence of hitting Ahmaud
running
Arbery.
into
So
him.
now the car is an assault weapon.
Assault with a deadly weapon.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, so they throw all these things together. So I mean, here's the issue. These guys initiate this with him,
Right.
And they have no real authority. They don't have a badge to show. It's not like he has to submit to a police officer. This is one citizen coming after another citizen saying, "Hey, I want to arrest you." Like what?
What are you
for
talking
what? I didn't
about?
do anything.
Right.
I'm not going anywhere with you.
Right, like my brother said, how was this self-defense when they were pursuing Ahmaud Arbery?
Right. Well,
yes.
they say it's switched. What they're saying is that in the middle of the struggle, he was reaching for the gun and trying to kill them, and now they're saying, "Oh wait, we got to protect ourselves now."
Right.
So now it's self-defense. So we'll see how this folds out, in the case, because this is, and here's a whole nother. Okay, well, let's switch directions for a moment. The jury itself,
Yes.
right?
Oh.
The jury itself it turns out to be, after all this they go through to try and decide who's going to be a jury of their peers.
Right.
Turns out to be 12 white males.
Right.
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 So you have a case where you have
In
three
Georgia.
white
In
men
Georgia.
on trial for killing a black man, and the peers ends up 12 white.
12.
It's almost funny to even
In Georgia, one of
really?
the last states to be segregated, desegregated.
I mean, so the question is, peers of who? Right? Peers of the defendant or peers of the prosecuted, right? In this case, it's the peers of the defendant, like the guy that's trying to say I'm innocent, and all of the 12 peers look like him.
Right.
Right?
Those are my peers.
It's like my peers and I agree that I'm
Yes,
innocent.
right.
I mean, come on, there's a real issue there in terms of how you end up. I'm a little frustrated with how the defense allowed that, or how the prosecutors allowed that to happen. Now, the one thing, again, that was said, and this is an interesting point, right? Because they did, obviously, the way the system works, the prosecutor and defendant, defense lawyers have the opportunity to go through a group, and they can say no to a certain number of people that come through. There were black people in the pool that were being interviewed and questioned to become jurors. Now, obviously, some of them, they probably just said, nope, 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 nope. But a point was made that several of the black jurors were honest enough to say, I've seen that video, and there ain't no way I can be, I can't be unbiased about this based on what I saw. So they came through and they said, they were honest about it. Look,
They were like,
no, you don't want me. Because I've seen the video. If you're going to ask me to try and be objective about this, I don't know that I can
do that.
So that's an interesting thing here, right? Because they were there, but they self said, selected and said,
no,
I'd be in this, but I'm not going to guarantee, right? So I think that's a really interesting.
And living in Georgia, growing up in Georgia, listen, they would not want my mother on that either, because she grew up in Georgia.
You're throwing your mother in there, right?
And she grew up in Georgia.
She didn't even have to see the video.
She's got some stories.
Look, she didn't have to see the video. She'd be like, nope, you don't want me.
Nope. She said, I grew up in Georgia. Is what she says. She understands.
Like, no, y'all don't want me. We can speak for her on that one. She was not being. But it's an amazing thing to think. I mean, that you want an unbiased pool,
right?
But the black people living in the South, knowing these things happen and have happened for generations, and seeing this again, are honest enough to say, I mean, they could have said, no, I'll be on it.
Yes.
But they're like, no,
No,
I
no.
I can't do it. Not under oath. I can't. No,
Yes.
I can't be lying like that. I go to church. I got, I got trying to be saved. I can't tell y'all. I cannot guarantee you
Yes.
that I can be on this and be objective because I've already seen, and a lot of it was about the fact that they already seen the video.
Right.
And based on the video, it caused them to form opinions.
Right.
And you're not supposed to go into these with an opinion already established.
Well,
So,
it was that her mom has some horrific racism stories in Georgia.
right.
Yes.
You should have her on with it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, watching the opening statements and watching different videos and what have you, even the police investigation, when they investigated, they were questioning the people about what happened. The third guy was actually explaining his version of what he saw, what he thought happened. And the whole statement, even from the police investigation, was very biased. It was like they were automatically taking their side.
Right.
And also the police were not asking the right questions. They never asked, well, why did you get out of the truck? Everything was to implicate Ahmaud Arbery as being wrong.
Right. And we should say, by the way,
Of being guilty.
That law no longer exists.
Right, it's
That
antiquated.
law has been taken off the books. It
Yes,
was on the books just last year, so it's
Yes.
not that antiquated.
It is antiquated
Right.
because when it went on,
Right.
it should have been off long before last year.
Yeah. So
The citizen arrest law is what we're speaking
So
about.
that law now has been taken off the books, but it still existed on the books, and so it leads to this. I mean, we've seen this is, by the way, just these are the three guys, and this is Ahmaud. It's it's a really sad thing to consider what's happening, what's going on, and obviously people are very upset about the whole situation, about what's happening down there. There's been protests that have been going on looking for justice.
Again.
Here we are again, right? Looking for a time like George Floyd. We're looking to see what justice is going to look like. That was actually the caption that we had. What is justice going to look like in these cases? So I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out with the jury.
Right.
Because, again, are they going to be honest or not, and unbiased or not? I can't say. We can't say
We don't know.
everything about the character of the 12 white men that are on the jury. Hey, we can't say. But when they're presented with this case,
Right.
it will be interesting to see if there will be enough wiggle room for someone to come back and say, now keep in mind, there's one black person on the jury. Feeling bad for them right now, first of all. But it only takes one juror
Yes.
to resist to end up with a hung jury.
Right.
Hung jury.
Hung
So,
jury, yes.
it will be interesting to see how this plays out, to see if the evidence is clear and clean enough, and obviously we'll all be watching this, to see if it's clear and clean enough to say, look, these guys clearly overstepped outreach and how much bandwidth there is to say this could have been self-defense, right? How do you say self-defense when, first of all, you're the offenders, right?
Right.
You're the ones that have, here he comes, he's coming early this time. All right, hang in there, brother, we'll be with you in a minute.
Yeah.
But, this is, they have the weapon, they're the aggressor coming at him to try and hold him. Let's just
They
assume
say
for a
until the
moment.
police came.
Yeah, let's just assume for a moment they were legally doing this. Let's just
Right.
assume that for a moment. So they come at him as the aggressor to hold him, armed.
Right.
To
He's
hold him
unarmed.
against an unarmed man, and this starts out between them. This tussle. This Ahmaud's trying to get away, frankly.
Yes.
And because he's trying to get away and he's fighting to get away, they suddenly decide, wait, I could be in danger now. And so now this gives me the opportunity to shoot to kill, because that it seems to me that it's going to be a hard press to make that story stick all the way through. So I think this is going to be really interesting to watch, to see how this works out.
Yes, but the defense is doing what
gonna do
they are
gonna do.
hired to
Right.
do. Find that loophole
Yep. And so we'll
that's
see.
going to make their client
Right.
innocent.
We'll see what happens. Brother-in-law, you there?
Yes, I am.
How you doing,
Hello,
sir? How you doing?
hello.
Good evening, good evening. This is definitely a very hot topic that definitely
Oh man,
hits the very center of my soul.
and this is only round one. We got another case to talk about.
Yes,
Exactly.
this is only round one, and if I could just say this, I remember when we were very excited about Juneteenth becoming a federal holiday.
Juneteenth. Mm-hmm.
And thank God that happened. Okay, that's nice and all.
Yeah.
But I wasn't very excited because I saw three bills on the table. I saw Juneteenth federal becoming a federal holiday.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the John Lewis Voters' Rights Bill
Yep.
on the table, and I saw the anti-lynching bill on the table, which has been presented to Congress over 200 times.
That's
Right.
And
pretty
never
crazy.
passed.
Yeah.
So therefore, when I saw Juneteenth, I considered that to be a smokescreen, and I wasn't excited about that because to me that was not the important bill that we needed passed.
Right.
Now we just see through the elections that just happened
Yeah.
that they're trying to oppress the votes. But yet the John Lewis Voters' Rights Bill is still sitting on the table,
Yeah.
and the anti-lynching bill is still
Okay.
sitting on the table. And
Right.
now we're dealing with another murdered young African American male, and
Right.
as far as I'm concerned, unjustly.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned, it had the look of a lynch mob. And I don't know if you read my little caption there. I said, this is a To Kill a Mockingbird jury.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Even the
And
prosecutor
so here
said
we are
they
again.
trapped him.
Here we are again, talking about the same topic for I don't know how many years. Just like Marvin Gaye said in his What's Going On album.
Right.
Crime is increasing. Trigger happy
Policing.
polices.
Yes.
Panic, it's frantic, and God knows where we're headed. So it's this is very important to me. For one, I'm an African American male.
Yes.
I have nephews that are young males coming up, and it just concerns me that this type of behavior and this type of lynching mentality, as I call it, is still going on in this country. It's just horrible, and quite frankly, it's a little scary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Each of these court cases becomes a test as to where things stand, right? And the litigation, like you're describing. It's amazing to me that we in this country cannot pass an anti-lynching bill. That is got to be one of the craziest things. Obviously it goes beyond just the bill itself. It goes into the fear of repercussions that tie to that. But it's a crazy thing, the way our politics work, that we can't even come up with an anti-lynching. We cannot make it illegal to lynch people in this country. It's a bizarre thought.
It really is.
Right?
Wow, brother-in-law. And I tell you another thing that disturbed me. Now, I am against anyone being victims of any hate crime. Anyone, any nationality.
Right.
But it disturbed me that they had an anti-Asian hate bill passed that quick.
They did.
Bam.
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 Right away.
We talked about that when it
that
happened.
quick.
Yes.
Right.
And here we are. We've been waiting for an anti-lynching bill since Emmett Till. Probably before that.
Before that,
it's
right.
crazy. It's crazy. Over 100 years, right? It's bizarre, but this will really be a test again to see what happens. Every one of these becomes a refinement, and it's a testing point. And so now we had the George Floyd one that first of all was up in the Midwest. This is in the Deep South.
Yeah.
Right. And seeing how these things get approached and the response to these in the Deep South will be a really key question to see, whether the country truly is moving in a direction or not. And, and to what degree.
Well, one thing, it is getting attention now.
Oh, yeah.
It's getting attention. So, we can be glad about that. Because at one time it was not getting the attention that it's getting now. Because we have cameras, we have videos.
Right. That is
Yes,
one of the
indeed.
things that
Right.
made a huge
So
difference.
that's going
It's
to
a
make a
lot harder
difference.
to deny things when it's on
Right.
videotape. Because it used to be the assumption that whatever, for example, the police officer said got the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly.
And so when it's a your word against my word
police
situation,
would
the
win.
policeman would always win. So now, you have this video which comes in as a unbiased
Exactly.
representation. But, they're doing still a lot of things in a lot of places to repress these videos.
Yes,
so
some
that
of them are turning their body
turn the
cams
cameras
off.
or they freeze it up for,
Yes.
there was a case, there was more than one, but one case in particular, and I think it was in California, in Oakland, I believe. All stuff goes up in Oakland.
Yes.
But where a woman was, a young man was killed by police officers. I mean, literally picked off. You could see them actually pop,
Like an animal.
popping them.
Yes.
And they were holding that video and held that video for, I think, at least 2 years, and would not allow that video to be released.
Yes.
And so it's that certainly makes a lot of difference. When you have these things going on in spurts like we did last year, and you have the press jump on it, like they did last year, that makes a lot of difference. Notice they're not on that anymore, right? They moved on to the next thing now. They moved on to the things that are happening in politics. But that doesn't mean that people aren't still getting killed like this, right? It just means it's lost the direct attention of the press right now. So, we'll see. You've got this case, and then the second one. We want to talk about the second one, too. That's the one with Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yes.
And this particular case, is another one of these, okay, this is another one of these head scratchers. See me scratching my, as soon as I think about it, I'm like,
this is a real head scratcher.
okay,
Yes.
all right, okay.
Yeah.
This has to do with, again, last year, what was going on, and in this particular case, the killing of Jacob Blake in Kenosha. And so after he was killed, shot by police officers, there was all this rioting going on, and some people decided that they were going to pull together their own quote-unquote militia,
Right.
to do personal protection of the community, et cetera, so forth. So I think in particular, this group came together to protect a car dealership at that time. But they were walking the streets with these, these
Rifles.
automatic rifles,
Yes.
and pretending like they are, there
AR-15.
with some kind of legal responsibility to protect, to serve and protect, like
And
they're
they
cops.
came from all over.
Right. And again, you have these people that are out here behaving like they're policemen,
Right.
and they're not, and they're trying to operate in the authority of someone who is trained as a policeman,
Right.
and they are not. They don't know how to behave. They don't know how to respond. That was one of the things that was coming up in the case I saw yesterday too, was that the prosecutor was going through the detail, to get to it later, but the detail of all the training responsible that a police officer has.
Right.
Because I think she's going to take that later and validate the fact that, okay, y'all don't have all this.
Well,
Right.
yes.
So y'all trying to
Well,
act like
that's not
this.
always true,
Well,
because a lot of them are police officers, and a lot of them are in the military. So some
Right.
of them do have training, and a lot of them aren't coming as protectors, but they're coming looking for an opportunity.
exactly. Well, this is what the defense was saying in the defense in the Ahmaud Arbery case. They were saying that the Travis McMichael
Right.
actually
Not in the
had
military.
training in the Coast Guard.
The Coast Guard.
And some other organization, Fledacy or something like that. But they said he was trained in the Coast Guard.
But
So
trained as
therefore, and that they also said that Travis McMichael trained trainees in the Coast Guard. And
Training to do what? Though? To shoot?
yeah, really.
Training how to shoot people?
Hey, can I make one
And
point? too?
firearms
Can I
and
make another point,
and
too?
what have you.
Go ahead.
Another point I would like to make too is a lot of the militia, they have land where they do train.
Right.
Yes.
And some of their trainers are ex-sergeants and drill sergeants from the military. They're sergeants from the Marines, and they literally have land that's set up like a military boot camp,
Yes.
where they literally train, and they're trained by professional military personnel.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
exactly.
again, what I say
And
is
that's a
train.
fact. And that's a fact.
But what I say is trained to do what? Because some of the training he was describing was, for example, de-escalation training.
Right. Trained in
how to-
compliance
right.
and how to use make decisions.
Right. So it's not just a matter of being trained how to shoot.
Right.
It's trained how to control a situation. It's trained how to apprehend someone appropriately.
Search and
what
seizure.
you can and can't do.
Yes,
Exactly.
probable
But
causes.
that's not their intent. Their intent is not to de-escalate.
I
Exactly.
understand. But this is
All
what
that
my
is
point.
true what you're saying, but that's not their intent.
Exactly.
They're not concerned with that.
But
No,
this
they're
is,
not.
But this is the point of the prosecutor to say you guys are trying to act like you're in this role, but
Right,
you do
you
not
are
have all the
not.
training associated with handling this responsibility.
Right.
And so, for them
You're
to be
absolutely
trying
correct.
to behave
Yes.
like we're police enforcement.
Exactly.
And the same thing again with Kyle
With this.
Rittenhouse and this group. He's a young man. He's like a teenager, right? What does he know?
What does
Other
he
than how
know?
to shoot. Right?
Exactly.
So what are you training? I'm training how to shoot. I know how to handle my gun. But that's not all there is involved with
Right.
in this case, keeping
Keeping
the
the
peace,
peace.
right? So,
You're
for these folks,
absolutely right.
for these folks to kind of be out there playing cops,
Yeah,
playing
right.
security,
Exactly.
is dangerous,
Right.
Right? And so,
Like
You're
the
right.
case in Trayvon Martin. This guy, he was not a police officer. He wanted to be a police officer.
Right. So this case, Kyle Rittenhouse, is accused of killing 2 men, wounding a third man with an assault-style rifle. Right? He claims to have been called upon to come there to help keep the peace. Said somebody called him, come in and join us to keep the peace.
Oh, he
in
and his
Kenosha.
mother. Yeah,
Right.
his mother drove him there.
So he's there he's answering the call, right? But the key question that's going on in this particular case is who is it that provoked the altercation? Because you end up with basically 3 guys shot, right?
Right.
And the story that's being told by the prosecution is that he's again Rittenhouse saying self-defense. What the story that's being told by the prosecution is that there's evidence that he started it. That he was saying stuff to them
Yes.
that got them ticked off and coming after him, and now he's shooting.
He's shooting
to,
that.
to defend himself.
And right, and
That's
the
something he
crowd
started.
exactly, and the crowd, the people were yelling and saying he shot somebody, he
Right.
shot someone,
Right.
and nothing really happened to
And you
this
know
man.
what? If you shoot somebody, then you probably do need
And they
self-defense
were-
because they're gonna be coming for you if you shot somebody
exactly,
in the crowd, right?
Exactly.
So,
So now he's saying that they were coming after him, but they were coming after him because he shot somebody,
Right,
and they were
right.
trying to bring attention to the fact that Rittenhouse is shooting people.
right.
So what do you?
So again, people are trying to twist these things around.
Right.
Thanks, brother-in-law. Thanks for calling in. By the way,
Yes.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
All right, man.
Okay.
We'll catch up with you.
Yes.
So again, in these situations where they're trying to manipulate and use these things as justification as to why it's
Exactly.
okay for them to do something they really shouldn't have been in the middle of in the first place.
Exactly.
Right.
It's the same thing. Rittenhouse, the McMichaels. How can they say that is self-defense?
So this case now is up and running, right? Kyle Rittenhouse case. And they have a jury pool. And, so this week, one of the jurors has already been dismissed because he decided to make a joke to a police officer about the killing of Jacob Blake.
Right.
Which is what the whole issue was over. The fact that Jacob Blake had been shot and died by at the hands of a police officer. So this whole is what raised up all of this to begin with, right? And this is why all this is happening. And this juror thinks it's funny to make a joke about killing Jacob Blake. And so apparently the officer was at least legitimate enough to say, "Look, he told somebody, and you got to go.
You have
right?
got to.
You are. How can you're unbiased? No, you got. You think it's funny, right? You're gone.
You're gone. Yes.
So again, it asks the question: what is justice going to look like? Are people really in this place, this mindset? Are they really? Do they really take this seriously? Right? And are they really going to be accountable for making legitimate decisions? This is what we're going through. And again, you go back to this is a test to see where we stand. Right? As a country in different areas of the country, are we growing? Are we evolving? Are we calling right and wrong?
Right.
Or are we still just doing our own thing and supporting our own side? Is the law really becoming unbiased, or is the law still doing what it do? That's
it certainly hasn't proven to work very well for people of color.
Yeah,
it seems to be 2 separate laws.
So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's going on with these cases, and we'll have to see how this pans out. Obviously, this will be going on, I'm sure, for a few weeks, and we'll monitor through and see what happens. Now, there's other things that are going on, by the way, this week as well. You know, Congress finally just, I think last night, just passed this $1 trillion infrastructure bill.
Yes.
And that is a whole nother, you know, ball of string to unwind, because first of all, it's $1 trillion that we're talking about here. We're just adding $1 trillion to the country's debt.
No small beans,
right?
here.
And no small beans here. So yay, we're gonna make jobs, we're gonna build roads. That's good, but it's $1 trillion more on our debt on your credit card.
Yeah, exactly.
So on the country credit card,
right?
And now there's Carl said maybe we can stand our ground. Right? Hey, those two laws, you know,
yes.
This law about being able to hold somebody, make a police arrest, and the stand your ground laws,
yes,
have caused more confusion.
They really have,
and more loopholes,
and
issues. Where you put people who are not trained to do these
exactly.
things.
Some states have dropped the stand your ground,
but some of them have not.
Some not, right? Some have, some have not.
So it's that's a whole another thing. So anyway, $1 trillion here, right? You know,
but
and,
I have to say this. It always seems like someone standing their ground against people of color. Well, this is the defense. This is what they're saying. Heard it used that is the problem. I have not heard too many instances where people of color, black people, have said they're standing their ground.
Certainly not, and got away with it.
And gotten away with it. But, exactly. They may say it, but
honestly though, we don't know, because the press covers what the press covers.
Right.
And so, is the press really focused more on it from this direction? Does it really come up? We don't know a lot of things that we don't know. Mm-hmm. But I would think that if it was used by a black person against a white person, it would come up, because it would be another test to say, okay, how does this plan out?
Right.
Does it work both ways?
Right.
But it's crazy stuff. So again, $1 trillion, right? Just agreed overnight, trillion additional dollars.
Right.
The perks of it is roads, infrastructure, things like this, which I'm not saying is not needed, right? It should happen. And by the way, it's probably not all in 1 year. It does provide jobs, but it certainly adds to our bill. And the question always comes back to, how are we paying for this, and when is the balloon going to burst? Now, there's another one coming down the pipe, which is a lot bigger than this. They wanted $3.5 trillion more. Now they're close to 1.75 trillion on top of the 1 trillion that they're looking at passing. And so you'll end up with 2.5 plus $trillion, not billions. We're not talking billions no more. We don't do billions no more. Right? We passed the B's now.
We're into the T's.
We in the T's. So $2.5 trillion additional dollars on top of the debt. I don't know what the country's debt is. Last time I saw it, it was like 18 trillion and rising fast. But then the past couple of years, I really haven't been keeping up. But it's been escalating. So now we're going to add another 2.5 on top of that, on top of what we continue to overspend every year.
Right.
And this is why we have all these dysfunctional aspects in the budgeting process, because we still have maintained caps on how much we can spend.
Right.
The government can spend, and they do stuff like this, and it runs them into the cap. And then they argue about, no, we're not going to raise the cap. Well, you passed the bill to spend the money.
Right.
But now you won't raise the cap.
Right.
And so, we continue to go up and up and up in terms of how much we agree to spend. And then we fight about spending it when the time comes that we've spent too much. So it's not the right thing to do. So, and you ask, it's just, this deconvoluted flow of things that we go through.
Right.
And you wonder why the governments always get frozen and shut down. And by the way, we go through all this because sometimes, average people just need to hear this stuff to understand what's happening.
Yeah.
This is self-inflicted. The government does it to itself, right?
Really.
It sets itself up. They fight these things out, and then they battle it both ways. And what they do is use it for political leverage. So when the cap comes up again, the only reason they fight about the cap, they know they have to increase the cap. Look, they know they have to, and they will increase the cap. As you just saw a month or so ago, if they don't increase the cap, we as a country go into default. our credit status goes down.
Right.
All of our interest rates go skyrocketing. The people lose confidence in the American dollar, which would be a disaster. That's not going to happen. So when they talk about they're not increasing the cap, they just playing.
They're
because
playing.
they're gonna do it.
They have no choice.
But they use it as political leverage
Right.
in order to try and get something out of the other group, or to try and make the other group look bad. In this case, the Republicans wanted the Democrats to look bad for increasing the cap and so they could say those Democrats keep spending so much money, right?
Yeah.
But when Trump was in office
Oh.
and we hit the cap,
Yeah.
it was the exact opposite way around.
Right.
And the Republicans say, oh yeah, we got to increase the cap. What's the matter with you guys? We got to increase the cap. And the Democrats are saying, no, we're not going to do it. You guys do it. It's political garbage, right? And it just tries to give them leverage to be able to try and get something out of the other group, especially when they're in the minority and they only have so many things that they can control, right? And so then we got into something called reconciliation. I'm not going to take you through that because
Okay.
y'all don't want to go through that. But it's a bypass around that whole process that they
Okay.
use now, and it's like dropping a hydrogen bomb in the middle of the government to do it. But anyway, all this political nonsense and jargon that goes on that causes this. So this foolishness is going on. They got the $1 trillion. Now they're going to try and get the $1.5 trillion, and they'll be working on this over the next few weeks to try and get that done and put us all in further debt. Yay! But then, on top, the other side of it is, they're trying to do things for paid family leave. They're trying to do things to help support this, that, and the other. So there's a lot of things that this will pour into, especially lower income people. The question is, again, how do you afford it? Because the majority of this gets paid by the middle class.
Right.
Right? The
Exactly. Middle class
pays
takes
good
the
portion,
brunt. Exactly.
of these things. And the upper class, they hide taxes and cover it themselves. And
Right.
So some of them pay minimal, some pay a lot. Some of them pay minimal.
Yes.
But it's really the middle class which then has to pay for everything for everybody else.
Right.
It's not that these things shouldn't get done, but how do you pay for it is the constant real question. What's the reality of paying for all of this stuff? Now, I saw somebody who said something really interesting the other day, and I don't have it.
Okay.
But they were talking about, I think, who's the guy that owns Amazon now?
I don't know.
I can't remember his name right now. The guy that owns Amazon. They say that I think he is valued at it's either him or Musk, one of the two of them. They're both valued way up there, like
Right.
200 and something $billion, right? And they were saying that there are 175 million people in the country or something like that. They were
Jeff Bezos.
Bezos, that's what it is.
Bezos.
And
Bezos.
they were saying he could give everybody in the country $1 billion and still have
money. Amazon is
hundreds of billions of
Wow.
dollars left. No, I think if he gave everybody $1 million, he'd still have $193 billion left,
Wow.
or something crazy. So the whole country could be millionaires.
Well, you know what? This is the issue. Another issue right now. Why it's the workers.
That does make you think, though.
It does make you think, exactly. And you know what? This is why workers right now, especially
Right.
middle class workers, people that are working, are protesting and they are declining to work.
Right.
It's because they feel that they're not being paid or compensated what
Yeah.
they should be compensated,
Yeah.
while the owners or the people on the higher echelon are
right.
making millions.
So I had a conversation this week. This is an amazing time right now for the laborer. Because I have
Right.
never seen a time
Laborers.
when laborers had more leverage
Leverage.
than what they have right now. And
Exactly.
so it is striking season.
It is striking
It's
season.
pick your job season.
Eh,
It's
right.
give me a raise season.
Exactly.
For sure. But I was talking
Exactly.
to a young
And
man.
compensate me for what I'm worth.
I was talking to a young man this week who works as part of the movie makers union. One of
Yes.
the people on the floor, right?
Right.
That do the actual filming and all this stuff.
Right.
They almost striked a couple weeks ago.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
They were threatening to strike. They resolved it the day before the strike was supposed to begin. This is for all the people that are involved on movie sets, for all the behind the scenes, behind the camera stuff. So he's involved in this, and they didn't strike because they got a deal.
Right.
And he said they might still strike again. Because he said that the deal, once they got a chance to actually look at it, the deal was actually very shallow.
Mm-hmm.
And that it really didn't give them anything that they thought. So they might strike again. Think about that. Now, when do you see that happen, right? You
Wow.
strike, you get a deal, you move on.
Exactly.
They're like, look, fire is hot. Let's do it again.
It's hot.
Right?
Exactly.
Because, they're responsible for working for ridiculous hours. When they do these movie sets,
Exactly.
they work and they work till they're done. And they make if they need night light, they go at night. If they need
Right.
daylight, they go
They
at
do,
day.
right.
They just go and burn and churn to get it done. And then and now, especially because
They're
they had
short-staffed.
almost a year off
Right.
of making movies, they've got all this backlog, and they're trying to pump through movies now
Exactly.
like crazy to make it all back up. So they've got all these folks out working overtime,
And that is the complaint of
Right.
laborers right now in many different fields.
right? Because
many
others
different
aren't
fields.
working.
They are not
and there's
working.
A shortage. The others are working longer,
Exactly.
harder.
Exactly. Like my niece in Syracuse,
Mm-hmm.
she's over here in Rochester working, in the hospital,
Right.
and she's making crazy money in like 1 week.
Yeah.
Because the people, they're short staffed and
Yep.
they need people. They're calling educators back. Educators that have retired.
Mm-hmm.
They need them because they have the experience, they have the knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just short staffed. So right now, if you're a retired person or a person that decided that they're not working, you can make your claim. You can call your price.
Yeah, it's leverage
pay
to the
me.
laborer.
Yes.
I've never seen, or I can't even remember a time in history where the leverage has been so in favor of the laborer right now.
Right,
And so
right.
people are really they're saying it, and they're like, hey, you know what?
Exactly.
Because typically the individual laborer is like, I just need to save my job, right?
Right.
I'm just here, be quiet, do my job, right? Now it's like, and when they come together and they're already frustrated and they're just stepping over the line and saying, look, we're not taking it anymore. You got to do more.
Yes,
and if
we're
you're trying to
overworked,
hire somebody,
overworked, underpaid.
right? And if you're
Yes.
trying to hire somebody right now, you got to really work, because I can't tell you how many businesses I've talked to that keep saying they can't find people.
Yes.
They're having trouble. You hear all these ads constantly. We'll take you in. We'll train you. We'll hire. We're looking for people, for workers, for truck drivers, for all kind of things. You look at what's happening in the shipping yards right
Exactly.
now.
And you know what? There's no reason for anyone not to have a job right now if you want to work.
If you want a job,
You can get a job right
if
now.
you need to be trained.
Exactly.
It can happen.
It can
'Cause
happen.
People will take you if you want to work. If you want a job, you can get one and you can make good money.
Exactly.
So this is an interesting time that we're experiencing.
It really is. And then something else that happened during COVID and quarantine, people were home. They were at home working. So people learned how to, they
Survive.
compensated. We
Survive.
learned how to survive.
Yep.
We can work from home. A lot of people even created jobs
Exactly.
to make money, right there at home on their computers.
Right.
So they're like, I don't need to go to work.
Yeah.
I can stay here and work and make money.
And a lot of people, when they are applying, that's one of the big questions now: is this flexible? Can I work from home?
Right.
There's
Exactly.
a lot of people that are now bringing that up in interviews, et cetera, so forth. We actually hired somebody for for my job. We hired a virtual executive assistant instead of a local one. We hired somebody who lives in Denver.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so, she's working from home. Just bought a new house, working from
No,
home.
working from home.
So I mean, the dynamics have definitely changed in terms of what's happening, what's not happening. Let's say there's one last thing before we go. Another thing that's happening right now is all the vaccine mandates.
Oh, yes.
And the vaccine mandates just got pushed off. The president was about to put a major mandate on for all business with more than 100 employees. So all the major companies in the country were going to be required by December, I think, the 1st of December, somewhere in here very soon, to have all of their people vaccinated. And they just pushed it off to January 5th. And some people are, the government says one thing, but the real reason that they did it was because they didn't want to throw everything off during the holidays.
Okay.
Right? Because they were afraid what we've seen thus far. Hey, Genovo. Hey.
Hey, Genovo.
What we've seen thus far is when it's come to healthcare workers, when it's come to fire department, police department, things like that, they're losing like 10 to 15% of their employment base.
Wow.
Right? So 10 to 15% of the police officers, fire department folks either are going away or they're out sick right now, temporarily, because they're resisting this. In the hospitals, 10 to 15% of their people are walking away from their jobs.
Yes.
And so they're afraid that if they put this mandate on all these companies right now, first of all, supply chain is already messed up. Right? If you're going to put it on truck drivers, you're going to put on people working in the shipyards, if you're going to put on people that are working in manufacturing and working all of these, companies that are helping to build these products, and the retail, and all the way through the chain. If you lose 10 to 15% of the workers all the way through the chain, it would be crazy and disastrous.
Yes.
Not to mention trying to hire on some more people to work during the holidays.
Right.
So they begged and pleaded and lobbied to push it off until January. But this full mandate is definitely coming. And, there's a lot of resistance right now as to whether people should be fully mandated or not. Should they have their right or not,
Right.
There's a lot going on.
A lot, yes.
So our time's just about up. A lot of things happening there. Hope that you enjoyed this. And thanks for our brother-in-law for jumping on the conversation.
Yes.
All those who commented as well. Thank you for your comments and feedback. I see a couple shares. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Sharing is very powerful.
It is.
We appreciate those that take the time to hit that share button and share with others. Also want to remind you again, go to our YouTube page and sign up on there. We need people to subscribe to that.
Yes.
And if you do subscribe to it, when these come out every week after the show, we publish them.
You can go back and watch.
You'll get a notice that says, hey, we just released a new show, and you go up. And by the way, when you go up here, there's all kind of categories of these from our most popular, and there's quite a few up here now.
Yes. We started this during quarantine.
Right. And
yes.
we started the YouTube version of it somewhere about 6 months ago, I'd say.
Yes,
something like that.
Exactly.
So if you go online and go to the YouTube version of it, you can see all kind of things that are. You can see all the different ones that are there, and there are a lot. I'm trying to get up real quick here to show you. Which channel am I on? I'm not on the right channel. Just wanted to show you how many videos, excuse me, that there are, and there is a lot. Here we come. Get to the right stuff. Almost there. There we go. And so, yeah, you can see that on the video section. We got a lot.
Yes.
Now look at that.
Yes.
We've been doing this for a while.
We have been since
September 2020. So we're past a year.
Yes.
On here. That's pretty cool. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff there from the past as well. We invite you to go to that. Just type in Conversations Pam and David in the search bar on YouTube, and it will come up, and you can subscribe to it by hitting the subscribe button. We don't see it on here now because we're already subscribed. But the red button there says subscribe. You hit on that, and you too can be connected up to our YouTube page. There's a subscribe button. Just hit that and join in with us. Also want to remind you, coming up tomorrow, service 11:30 a.m. We're in this part 2 of Declare and Decree. This is a powerful one. So I want to encourage everybody to join us tomorrow, 11:30. You can join us live and in person, be a part of the atmosphere there, or you can join us on live stream and join the atmosphere there. So tomorrow, part 2 of Declare and Decree. Wednesday night, we're continuing our series on 2 Samuel, continuing through that. Got lots going on.
Yes.
So make sure and join us here throughout tomorrow and throughout the week. All right. Let's call it. God bless everybody. Y'all have a good night. We'll look forward to connecting up with you again on next time. Hope you have a blessed evening. Praying for those who are going through some things in the church family this week. And we're praying that God is going to be our strength and everything that we need. All right. Everybody have a good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Next time.
Be blessed and be safe.
Bye-bye.
Here we go.